Good evening, everyone. Charles here, FRGNT4X.com, FRGNT Mastery, and of course, FRGNT Daily Chart Analysis. Won't be too long before I am out of TradingView prison and able to post my charts for you all again. Nevertheless, just approaching 7:30 here in Milan, Tuesday the 17th of March, 2026. And again, it's been a rather busy trading day, to be quite honest. We started that off at FRGNT Mastery this morning, 07:30 GMT, pre-London live calls, just depicting the market to see where we could lie for the day. And it wasn't really until, to be quite honest, just approaching New York or just heading into New York, where we begin to see that liquidity start to flood into the markets. What can we say? Well, a couple of positions today, just cleaning up the charts for the evening, and here we are. So the most recent plays, what I'll quickly dive into for you to take a deeper look into my mindset, my thought process for the day. So where were we? An initial trade taken on GU this afternoon. Now, as you can see, price came into that higher time frame order block. Look at the bottom left-hand chart. You'll see that 4-hour time frame alongside that 4-hour order block. That was mitigated, but nevertheless, price had not broken and closed above it, supporting the shorts from that area as well. We had the 4-hour 50 EMA, where we can see prices most recently respecting that. So, of course, as price came in, expecting rejection, which we had, you can see the wick to the high on that 4-hour candle. With that said, on the daily time frame, also reason for confluence. Really, to be honest, not much. The daily 50 made quite a hell of a way around, or I'd say above current price action. But what we can see is price tapping into that potentially that wick, previous wick imbalance on that daily time frame. So really, price was shaping up, in my opinion, to look for a short position. Now, what we can see is we look to refine those order blocks down, as we always do, look to short from as high as possible. You can see that I hadn't shorted from the 15-minute order block that I had refined right up at the high. This, in my opinion, was the best position to take a short from. So, Charles, I hear you ask, why did you take a short premature of your 15-minute order block? Well, if you have a look here with me, on the DXY, the whole day really on the DXY was just trying to read the DXY, try to understand when the DXY is looking to turn around. So as you can see here on the DXY, price pushed off from that 4-hour order block. If I bring that slightly larger for you, much like GU, so we're looking for reaction from a GU in terms of shorts towards the downside, and the DXY can we respect that 4-hour order block towards the upside. If I flip-flop between the two, you'll see exactly on the 4-hour, it's pretty much the inverse operation on the DXY in comparison to GU. So with that said, I went down to the 1-minute time frame on the DXY to really understand what was happening. Can I find or locate any intricate 1-minute breaks of structure? And that you can see we had, as I'm beginning to say in FRGNT Mastery, really one line should do it, right? And that's exactly what I mean, as how I've illustrated that. If you're able to read price action in terms of lower low perhaps, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low created, as a result of price pushing up, breaking insignificant points of interest at this time. But what you can see here is this break. That's what I'm more looking for. We've seen a nice break of structure that I can cleanly say on the 1 minute we have broken structure to the upside. With that said, have we left an imbalance behind? Yes, we did on that 1 minute time frame. So like always, as price leaves, expecting a new pattern to be created, and after that high, expecting a higher low to be created. So what I was looking to see, can the DXY respect that 1-minute order block? In the same time, I'm now looking on GU in the same picture. As you can see here, we haven't quite tapped into that 15-minute order block you see there up at the highs, but like on US dollar CAD, we've had price started coming up, making higher high, higher low, higher high, then a break of structure. Price then came in. Could we respect it? Yes, we could. I wasn't quite satisfied then. I said, can we leave and come back? And as we came back, or as we left rather, I set myself a sell limit order. And as you can see here, a larger stop loss than I would like, but I must give myself an ample opportunity to stay protected in that trade. And as you can see, that 15-minute order block hadn't been tapped. And as well as that, if I zoom out to the left, we can see Asia had not been filled. So with that said, I would have expected Asia to look to have been filled. If I was completely wrong and price go against me, at least I stood a chance respecting that 50-minute order block, potentially respecting the Asia fill, and then liquidity perhaps Hopefully it wouldn't have been swept, but nevertheless, liquidity could have then pushed price down, at least bring me towards break even. But as you can see, price immediately went into profit, and as it then head towards the imbalance in the opposite direction, you can see here, if I just put a slight box around it, there we go. I went break even right away. And what did we see? Price started to take off. So as soon as I locked that in at break even, I then went back to the DXY to understand, well, what exactly is the DXY really doing? Is it actually looking to trade bullish at this time in terms of the longer time frame, or are we simply creating that lower high before a lower low continuation? So as I went break even on GU, I went over to US dollar CAD that we were scoping for the majority of the day. But with that said, US dollar CAD then came up into its point of interest. So you can see here, refine that 4-hour order block down. In terms of the daily, it looked beautiful. The fact yesterday's previous daily closed below that daily 50 MA. So I have every expectation once this daily candle starts to print bullish, starts breaching that daily 50 MA, to find some rejection from a liquidity point. That liquidity point, I've noted it here, 4-hour order block. Now, how was the 4-hour being respected in terms of the EMA? We're using the EMA in this instance, for me personally, as a target. I don't see that price is actually rejecting that EMA, meaning that we have room to the downside before the rejection could well then take place, before we could then see that higher low, higher high continuation pattern form. So with that then said, I went over to the DXY, again, as you can see here by my yellow GAN box, down into the intricate 1 minute breaks or 1 minute time frames to find the entry. And as you can see, we had that, I'd say, insignificant break of structure, but what must be mentioned here is the method at which I look to take this position. Now, Asia range fills was my immediate thought process, but nevertheless, I figured, well, in the current climate, I want to give myself a little bit more of an opportunity, or I would like to reduce the risk a little bit more, right? In terms of the Asia range setup, it's a very fixed and it's a very rigid type of entry criteria, meaning that if I was to locate that entry criteria, I'd almost be forced to take it based on the Asia range criteria. That would then mean that my stop loss would have to be in a significant place to allow me to fill Asia to get at least a 1 to 3. So as you can see here, that is not possible based on my stop loss of around about 14 pips. So what I've done, I'm going to use Asia range as a bit of a target to manage the position in terms of profits out of the market, and then I'll be holding that trade potentially down towards the 4-hour 50 MA, or what I can see here is I can see an imbalance potentially in the opposite direction that price could well look to reject from on that 15-minute time frame. So with that said, as I've mentioned, I've gone over to the DXY to try and understand, well, are we bearish or are we bullish? Is this simply that lower high before the lower low continuation? And why that matters? Well, if the DXY was seemingly bullish from the stage that we were looking at on this on the 15-minute time frame from this area, then of course GU would fall to the downside. Now, we were able to get break even on GU in this trade. However, all what that was price up on DXY, simply creating that higher, or rather that lower high before the lower low continuation, which we now see. As a result of the lower low continuation, that then suggests to me that in fact US dollar CAD, or rather the US dollar, or even more specific, the DXY, is in fact bearish, or in fact weak in this current scenario. So with that said, I decided to take that short opportunity on US dollar CAD. So the synopsis and the summary is currently break even, or currently I'm out break even, as I should say, from this first trade here on GU, and I'm scoping a potential short to potentially hold over the night on GU based on the fact that we have now at the highs of that order block. I've done the work, I've refined that order block down. The previous 4-hour candle rejected that 4-hour 50 MA. In my opinion, we're now just retesting the highs of that 4-hour candle, looking for the liquidity, which indeed now is there by way of 15-minute order block. Potentially we're able to fill Asia and then roll to the downside. What that would mean, however, is now I require potentially a new lower high to form. So after this lower low, of course, we have a high percentage chance of a lower high to form simply based on basic price action and structure. Once I can see that that lower high has been formed, it will then be for me only to manage my position again on GU by going break even. So let me lower this alert down slightly to give me, or rather I've got one there anyway, and I'd have to apologize at the swear word you see. However, what you can see is trading pretty much, and how the DXY really does play king and have that ownership on the cross pairs that I trade, particularly GU, EU, and AU. And in this instance, US dollar CAD. So we're currently break even in US dollar CAD. I'll leave that to run its course. I won't touch that at all unless it gets to the Asia fill, where I will indeed take a proportion of the chunk off the market, or rather out of the market, and then let the rest potentially roll to 40p overnight or by tomorrow morning. So that's the synopsis, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit quick. I hope you're able to follow through, but as I always say, thank you very much for your support across all of the channels. And as I said earlier on in the chat or in the video, that I'll be back on TradingView in a short duration, just serving my current sentence for posting a link to FRGNT4x.com, where I'm able to share that freely with you here. So again, thank you for your support across all of the channels. I appreciate it. Good luck in your trading journey. And one thing that I'll always emphasize, I'm happy to share that free of charge, is seek your confirmation. Understand what's going on. So you understand now that I'm potentially going to look for a short position on GU. What that means is I need to get in that short position potentially before price on the DXY creates that lower high for a potential lower low. If I enter before that happens, I have every chance that GU is simply going to stop me out. And this is what will happen as the DXY is now making potentially its higher low, its lower high before its, let me get this right, before its lower low. This could simply be GU now making its higher low before a potential higher high. So understanding how to use the confluence, the free confluence by way of the dollar index. It's there. Use it. Seek to understand it. Understand what's going on in terms of your 50 EMAs. Understanding, is the EMA supporting you? Understanding, can I reuse this order block so long as price has not broken above and closed above it? Once that has happened, it is null and void. It needs to be removed. But until that happens, and for sure there will be an order block refined in there that is valid, then you can continue to use that order book once you have your confirmation by way of entry criteria and setup. So very key points in there. I hope you're able to sieve through to find the gems. And that's pretty much the summary of Tuesday the 17th, 2026. And that's March. So thank you again for listening, everyone. As I said, I hope you're able to find some great benefits from that. Do take care, and you will hear from me shortly, no doubt. All the very best in your trading journey. Charles.